It's about owls.
Oh, okay.
Have you guys not talked about that movie yet?
Unfortunately not.
It might be one of Zack Snyder's best movies.
When I hear the word Guardians, I think of the Guardians of Gahul.
When I hear one of Zack Snyder's best movies, that's like saying the 2001 Knicks were the best Knicks team of the 2000s. Like, yes,
but they're both
probably.
Factually true.
The bar is low.
Can't argue with facts. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is Why Wasn't It Better? And I'm your host, Patrick Darms.
And I'm your co-host, Anton Paras.
And back by popular demand is our favorite guest duo, Ivan Calixto and or Garret Ohringer, or Garret Ohringer and Ivan Calixto, depending on the order in which they'd like to be introduced.
Garret goes first.
Oh, then I will go first. Whose popular demand is it? Anton and Pat's?
The fans, they've spoken.
Yeah, the fans.
Oh,
yeah.
I want to see the
Who's
comments.
the fans?
Yes. Well, you can see them.
You don't want to see them. They're explicit. They're explicit.
Yeah. That's right.
They
They like the New York
delete
energy.
comments.
They like the New York energy that we bring, Ivan. That's why.
I feel like I'm less New York. I feel
You
like
don't
I
want
need
to
to turn
see
it up a little bit more.
They objectify the both of you.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to turn it up so hard. My accent's going to fly this episode.
Let it fly.
It's about to get so northeast in here.
So Northeast, both of you are recording in the aftermath of a snowpocalypse, which is very brave of you.
It's still coming down a little bit over here.
Ooh.
You know what? Shout out to all the maintenance workers, the super in my building. My sidewalks are so clear. Shout out to him.
That's what you want.
What you want?
I had to put the heat on today. It was a little chilly.
What was it? 58 in Charlotte?
No, it was like 25 last night.
Okay.
It was
never mind.
pretty
Shut up.
cold. Today it's a high of 42, so chilly, not warm.
On today's episode of Why Wasn't It Hotter?
Well, believe me, in a couple months it's going to get 90, and it's going to stay that way until October.
Oh, it's going to stick. Literally,
Yeah.
metaphorically.
But today we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It arrived with a strange burden following one of the most surprising hits in Marvel history. It was bigger, louder, and far more indulgent. James Gunn's sequel, it doubles down on color, music, and character, but it trades discovery for familiarity, perhaps. This time, the film isn't about becoming a family so much as interrogating what that word actually means. Fathers, sons, legacy, and ego collide in a Marvel movie that's more personal than plot-driven. For better or for worse, here to discuss that is, of course, Ivan and Garret, or Garret and Ivan. This film was released on May 5th, 2017 by Marvel Studios, written and directed by James Gunn, starring Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, Michael Rooker, Karen Gillan, Pom Klementieff, Sylvester Stallone, and Kurt Russell. The budget was $200 million. That is $265 million adjusted for inflation. Look at those inflation numbers after less than a decade. The box office was $869 million. That is $1.14 billion adjusted for inflation. It has an 85% Rotten Tomatoes score. It is the 15th film in the MCU and the third film in Phase 3. Peter Quill and his fellow Guardians are hired by a powerful alien race, the Sovereign, to protect their precious batteries from invaders. When it is discovered that Rocket has stolen the items they were sent to guard, the Sovereign dispatch their armada to search for vengeance. As the Guardians try to escape, the question of Peter's parentage is revealed by a mysterious new ally. The tagline is, anyone can save the galaxy once. Garret and or Ivan, whoever wants to go first, why did you want to talk about Guardians 2?
Because you asked me to. No, in all seriousness, when you first asked me, I was like, ugh, I really don't want to talk about this movie. To be honest, I hadn't, seen this movie since 2019 because I remember the first two times, both seeing it in theaters and rewatching it before Endgame, like all completists do. Did not really like it, found it way too over the top and kind of taking all of the worst parts of Guardians 2. Guardians 1 and doing it twice as much in 2. So I was ready to come on and rip it. But having not watched it in 7 years, kind of found it strangely moving. And maybe it's because I'm a new father, and given this whole film is really about family and fatherhood, maybe it just struck a chord with me a little bit differently too. So at first I was ready to come on and trash it, but I think I might be ready to recontextualize it in my own mind's eye.
Yeah, I don't think I
Love
was
it.
asked. I did see the email, and I was like, yeah, why not?
Oh, really? I didn't even ask you? Oh.
The door was open. Ivan just walked in.
Ivan is here under duress.
again.
Listen, I'm not even sure what we're talking about here. No, I feel like I have a little bit more positive feeling towards this movie than the negative, ultimately. Although I do agree that I feel like a lot of this stuff, they kind of take a lot of the elements from Guardians 1 that didn't quite work too well and kind of amped it up a little bit too much. I love the soundtrack to this movie. I'll say that, but I feel like I feel like James Gunn is a pretty good connoisseur, I guess, of music for his movies. I feel like he does a really good job at that. But yeah, this is one of those movies that for me, I really liked the first one. I thought it brought a lot of new and fresh stuff to the MCU. This one felt a little bit too like it was trying too hard, I guess, to be that and a little bit more, but didn't really shed too much. My favorite elements of this would probably have to be the Michael Rooker and Peter Quill stuff, or sorry, the Yondu and Peter Quill stuff, which is probably the things I probably recall the most from this movie out of everything else. But yeah, like I this is definitely not a like top Marvel movie for me, but it's also not anywhere close to the worst.
Anton, what's your history with this film?
Look, I'm a comic book fan. I'm a nerd. I kept up with the Guardians because of what was happening with everything in the cosmic side of Marvel. And of course, I was excited to see everyone's favorite obscure cosmic super team, the Guardians of the Galaxy, get their first film. And I was really stoked, for lack of a better term, when 2 was coming out, just because I love me an underdog. I love me some cosmic Marvel. And it's just a different side of Marvel that doesn't get dove into as much. You know, the outer reaches of the universe, things get a little weird when you go out in outer space. And yeah, I mean, I think to touch on both what Ivan and Garrett said, there's a few very obscure and out there things here. Who's to say if it actually adds to anything that is part of the greater MCU storyline? But we have ourselves a very fully I'd say like a fully formed representation of a James Gunn film. And I'm definitely someone that was sitting in his seat at the movie theaters ready for this one. So that's my relationship with this film.
So all three of you saw this in the theater, I take it?
Yeah.
I missed this despite seeing the first one. I was kind of dragged to see the first Guardians, knowing nothing about it. I hadn't even seen a trailer. So I went in completely blind and was very pleasantly surprised by it. As I think most non-comic book fans were. I mean, that was really a surprise hit for Marvel. They took a swing with that, and audiences warmed to it immediately. It still feels so fresh. I watched it in preparation for this episode along with the second one, obviously. That is certainly one of my favorite Marvel films. It's a lot of fun, and it managed to do something, I think, which was even pretty rare by 2014, which is set itself apart from everything else. Superhero movies were a dime a dozen by that point, and Guardians managed to do something completely fresh. But I didn't see the second one in theater. I saw this similar to, I think, what you did, Garrett, which is my wife and I watched all the films in the MCU in the run-up to Infinity War and Endgame. And maybe that was a mistake on my part, because when I watched this kind of in a marathon with everything else in the Infinity Saga, I was like, what the hell was this? This doesn't fit into the larger story at all, which we can talk about. But this proved just about as popular as the first one. I think it's probably more polarizing with the Marvel fans than the first one. The first one's pretty much universally loved. This one, well-liked, I think, but not as much. Before we do the production history, Anton, this is going to be a good 6 Degrees of Warren Beatty's sex life.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yes. Well, I mean, are any of them bad?
I mean, I've heard way too much about Warren Beatty's sex life, but sure, they're never bad.
really
You want to
attached
discontinue
to
this?
this
Because
bit.
I'm having a ball doing the research.
No, keep doing it. I feel
I'm
so
being-
attached to this bit too.
Okay. So this one's nice because we have 2. Kurt Russell has obviously been not officially married to, but, you know, longtime companion of Goldie Hawn for decades. She very famously dated Warren Beatty back in the 70s. And Sylvester Stallone dated Janice Dickinson. And if you don't know who Janice Dickinson is, look her up. She's a real item. She also dated Warren Beatty.
She's been in films with Sylvester Stallone, right?
I think.
Like she played the robot in Rocky 3.
You mean
That
4?
came in 4 that came during the birthday party.
Yes, that's exactly what she's known for, playing the robot in Rocky IV. I mean, I don't know if I would call her an actress. I think model first, maybe. Ivan, are you looking her up right now?
I can't believe you guys are still doing this bit.
Do you think we should stop, Garrett?
No, I was on the Dick Tracy episode, so I feel like, again, personally attached to this.
It's gotten a tremendous amount of positive feedback on YouTube and Spotify.
You know what? Warren Beatty, he is spreading his progeny like Ego does in his movie. That's called a segue.
It seems like
does he? I was going to say, does he? I don't think he does. I think he just sleeps
he made
around.
A point not to.
Well, I mean, he's spreading it, but, not spreading it.
Right.
Well,
I didn't want
you
that
can cut
visual.
that if you want. You're the all right. You're the one.
No, we're going to leave that in. I actually
you went down that road.
I'm glad that I started this because I really do think my theory is a sound one. And I think that's what Warren Beatty wanted to do. Not necessarily with the progeny, but he was like, if I sleep with enough women, ultimately, every movie ever made can be connected to me.
Yeah.
In one way or the other.
Yeah.
Also,
as many degrees of separation as we want. But anyway, we should stop talking about that. Would you like to read the production history, Anton, or would you like me to?
I will. I can jump in here.
Okay. It's not long.
Let me cough a little bit. All right. Our production history. After the first film became a surprise hit in 2014, Disney CEO Bob Iger tapped Guardians as having, quote, strong franchise potential. Now, James Gunn had begun work on the film within a month and said it would include at least one new Guardian from the comics. His earliest idea for a Guardian sequel involved Rocket and Groot starring as the main characters in a story fleshing out the former's origin story, but Gunn felt that he had to flesh out Peter Quill's origins first. Gunn wanted to give the sequel a different structure from the first film, since, quote, one of the reasons people like Guardians is because it's fresh and different. So the second one will be fresh and different from the first one, end quote. Now, Gunn said Thanos would only appear in the sequel, quote, if he helps our story, and he will not show up at all if not. Thanos is not the most important thing in Guardians 2, that's for damn sure. That's the Guardians themselves and other threats the Guardians are going to be facing that are not Thanos, end quote. Now, Matthew McConaughey reportedly turned down the role of Ego in favor of playing the villain in the film adaptation of Stephen King's The Dark Tower.
Ouch.
Yeah. Shouts out to that one.
In the running for worst movie ever made.
That was during the Idris Elba, power era. Because he was in everything at the time.
The let's throw Idris Elba and see if it'll stick era.
Yeah.
Have you seen that, Garrett?
I have.
That is a war crime.
If you put a gun to my head and said, just tell me one thing that happened during that movie, I'd tell you to pull the trigger.
Well, we'll be visiting the Dark Tower at some point. And a good reminder to go check it
soon. I don't want to.
Yeah. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Keep that away.
But listeners, go check out our Stephen King episodes. We have a decent chunk of those now.
Coming out soon.
Yeah. So the role didn't go to McConaughey. The role ended up being played by Kurt Russell. David Bowie had been in discussion to play a member of Yondu's crew prior to his death in early 2016. Well, it is pretty apt that the Star Child could have been in a Guardians film.
Would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah. Principal photography began in February 2016 at Pinewood Studios, but not the one you're thinking of. The one in Atlanta. All 18 stages of the studio were used by the production. Volume 2 was the first film to be shot with an 8K resolution camera, the Red Weapon 8K. Wow. Filming was completed in June, and reshoots were conducted in November on scenes that were cut from the film. Gunn said Nathan Fillion, who had a voice cameo in the first film, was going to appear as Simon Williams in a sequence that would have shown several movie posters for films starring Williams, including films in which he portrays Archon and Tony Stark. Does anyone here recognize who Simon Williams is?
Are we going to talk about Marvel's return to television greatness with the recent Wonder Man series?
Wonder Man. Love it.
Dude, I will say, listeners, if you've not watched Wonder Man, give it a go. It was a very enjoyable 8-episode series. And if listeners remember, I love Iron Man 3 and Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery. So it's a great return to form for him.
If we like
I thought Ivan was going to say something.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say something.
Ivan was just going to be like, nah, you're wrong. You're wrong. I was like, Ivan, you got a thought there? And he's like, yeah,
I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it for a minute. No, I was actually very surprised by Wonder Man. But honestly, I don't think, up until now, I don't think I've talked to anybody about Wonder Man. Which is kind of sad. I know. I was like, wait a minute.
You can talk shit on
So-
Garret. I have no idea what it is.
Fun series, I'll tell you that. But we're gonna save that maybe for like a special episode where we in a universe where we cover TV shows, but we don't do that here.
As always, we want to thank everyone for listening. If you're new to the podcast, please follow and subscribe. We encourage you to leave comments wherever you're watching or listening. We're on all the social medias, including Best of All Letterboxd. You can see our full list of films there. If you're not following us on Letterboxd, do yourself a favor and do it. If you really like what we're doing and you want to throw a few bucks our way, head on over to patreon.com/WWIB podcast. You can support us directly, get access to episodes a full week early and ad-free, plus bonus content. Now, before we talk Why Wasn't It Better, I have a curveball I want to throw the three of you.
All right.
Guardians of the Galaxy trivia. Now, since I used ChatGPT for this, I don't know if this is just specifically related to the movies or if this extends to the comic books. I don't particularly care. I'm just
This
going
is
to
all
ask
gonna
the
be
questions and you can
hallucinated
either
by
answer
AI?
them. What was that, Karen?
It's gonna all be hallucinated by AI, and Pat did not fact check it.
Of course I didn't.
Each answer is actually Jackie Chan.
I can actually confirm I know the answers to some of them, so I know at least that
All
some
right,
of
well,
them are okay.
let's go. This will be fun.
Okay.
Ready?
What is the name of Ronan the Accuser's ship?
The accused.
No. Sanctuary is Thanos'. It's
Is it
piss me
Hammerfall?
off. Can I have the first letter?
Well, it's called the something.
Oh,
It starts with
that
a
really
D.
narrows it down.
The dungeon. So lame. Sorry.
I got nothing.
The Dark Aster.
I would have never guessed that.
10 years ago, definitely would have known that.
Okay, this should be an easy one for you. What Infinity Stone is inside the orb?
It's the Power Stone.
The Power Stone.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
What is the name of the prison where the Guardians are held in the first film?
Excuse me, I know we shouldn't curse.
You can curse, it's fine. Doesn't matter ultimately.
Arkham Asylum.
No.
This is really awful.
In space.
It's in space, yes. It's like a
Borag
floating
is the
space
planet.
prison.
Borag is the planet where he finds the stone. Oh my god. Like
I don't even
this
think
is-
it's on a planet. I think it's just kind of a floating space.
It's just an
prison.
asteroid.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's called like the Quarry or like something random like that.
You're close.
I know I am. That's the worst part. These are things that I did know and now I don't know, and I'm
so it's
upset
not
that
the
I don't
quarry.
know.
So is it the quarry? Is it called the quarry? Is that it?
No, it's called the kiln.
See, again, these are like things like I knew and now I don't know, and I'm upset that I don't remember. But I'm also upset that I'm upset that I don't remember. So it's I'm going through a real existential
What
crisis.
is the home planet of the Nova Corps?
Oh, Xandar.
Yes. Oh, you knew that one.
Yeah.
What is the
Yeah.
name of the Nova Corps officer who arrests Peter Quill on Xandar?
John C. Riley.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
What
Is
is his
it,
character's name?
Daniel Storm.
No, it's like Glarp or something like that.
Was he actually pulled from the comics? I don't remember this.
This dude
Amos-
definitely has a
it's,
Wikipedia
Amos
that's
Hart.
longer. Yeah.
Amos
Does he
Hart.
have a Wikipedia entry longer than Obama?
His
looking
name is
this up.
Roman Day. Also, I didn't verify that, so it could be wrong. I don't know.
But it was John C. Riley. I feel like I
It
get
was
half
absolutely
credit.
John T.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of missing him in this film. Next question. Why was Yondu exiled from the other Ravagers?
Child trafficking.
Correct.
Okay, are we going to talk about that he trafficked maybe hundreds of thousands of children?
We can't talk about that because the film kind of glosses over that.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
but
like, that's
Peter,
a
Peter was
pretty-
all right.
Bad thing.
Yeah,
Did you call
you
it
know,
like
just-
genocide?
I think Yondu committed light genocide.
He's not
Listen,
like
he didn't know. He didn't
Well,
know.
actually-
He stopped as soon as he knew.
Yeah, it wouldn't be genocide because that's of one people. He just committed light murder of many population.
he's not like the Nazis in World War II, but he's like the countries that collaborated with the Nazis where they're like, "Whoa, we didn't. We just sent them on trains. We didn't know what was going to happen."
Yeah.
We
mass
just made
kidnapping
their
at best.
we just made their suits. We didn't know what they were doing outside of what they would do with their
Right.
suits on.
We just liked the color scheme. We thought it was
Right.
nice. We thought it looked good.
I mean, all joking aside, it's the best military uniforms looks wise ever.
Yeah, thank you, Hugo Boss.
Yeah, Hugo Boss still around.
There's some lore. There's
Garrett
some lore
knows
drop
it's
for
true.
everyone.
Anyway,
Yeah, ask the one Jew what he thinks about it.
well, you can be objective. No, I'm kidding. What is the eccentric being who tries to purchase the orb from the Guardians?
The collector.
Yeah, what's his real name?
Benicio,
Benicio del
del
Toro.
Toro.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Now, for a bonus question, what is the device Peter listens to music and the name of the tape?
The Walkman?
Yes.
Are you talking like Awesome Mix Volume 2 in this one?
Yeah.
Or are we going to talk Zune in 3? What are we talking here?
What energy construct do the Nova Corps use to try to stop Ronan's ship, which we've established none of you knew is called the Dark Aster?
I don't know. They do that cool weave thing where all their little
With
energy.
the beehive?
Yeah.
Yeah, they make that little beehive, fractal looking thing.
Apparently, it's called a Nova Energy Net.
Oh, yes, the Nova Energy Net.
That
Ivan, you
sounds
know
like
that,
something
obviously.
ChatGPT would have made up, but
How could I forget?
right.
It was right
What is
there.
the name of the person played by Digimon Hounsu in the first film who tries to take the orb from Peter?
Korath.
Yes.
Korath.
Loving the follow-ups here.
Give me the money.
Why are Gamora and Rocket initially pursuing Peter Quill?
Because they want to kiss him.
He had a bounty, didn't he? Honestly.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a bounty. What is the name of the prison inmate who has his cybernetic eye taken by Rocket?
That guy's got to be Glarp. Come on, man.
I don't
I'll
know.
save you some time. It's a trick question. They don't name him.
Oh,
But this is a fun little follow-up trivia. That eye that Baby Groot steals during the breakout with the Ravagers, same eye from the first movie.
The same one?
that's good.
That is a fact.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Yeah. All right. Let's talk why wasn't it better. I want to start with the story. So of all the Marvel films we've covered so far, Anton, this is the biggest offender of the side quest plot.
Yeah, it is not really on that Infinity Saga train. Like not directly, right?
That's what threw me for a loop when I first saw this. I was like, I don't understand how this fits into the larger story. Very much self-contained.
Okay. Garrett, what did you think of a self-contained Guardians film?
So you can make the case to some degree that outside of the Infinity Stone, that Guardians 1 is essentially self-contained from the rest of the MCU as well. That's really the only thread. And I will say, I remember back in 2017 seeing it for the first time. I was like, why am I watching this? It feels like I'm watching, like you said, like a side quest, essentially. And I get to hang with these guys. Don't get me wrong. Great hang. Love listening to music with them and going on space adventures too. But it was really confusing to really see like the first time of this is not connected to the overall whole, which now we're kind of almost asking for with Marvel movies too. And it is really interesting too that this was the first movie I remember reading about this was that Marvel didn't give James Gunn a roadmap for where the Guardians quote had to be later because they were still relatively separate from the Earthbound Avengers. He had complete freedom. Definitely this was that era of Marvel where Kevin Feige, to his credit, was trying to give more filmmakers or individual voices, which we see with a lot of the Phase 3 movies at the time too. But at the same time, that relative isolation, even though it was by design, it does kind of hurt that anticipation or excitement, you could say, to that final culmination, which came next year in the form of Infinity War. Granted, it was a good palate cleanser, don't get me wrong, but I remember just feeling almost somewhat empty. And now looking back at that feeling 7 years, later down the road, I'm like, wow, that's kind of crazy that I complain about movies always needing to set up movies, but really Marvel at the time, that was what they were really banking on too. So I feel like recontextualizing this film, I'm kind of like, great, I love that it stands apart from it all because it doesn't fall under the weight of plot holes or if you want to call it like callbacks or anything like that, whatever we're saying there. But at the time, I remember just being like, why? Great, but why?
I think that's a very fair statement, just around like the jarring aspect of moving away from that overarching story. Ivan, rebuttal of the century, or maybe a full agreement. What were your thoughts?
To be honest, I thought I didn't really realize it was so disconnected from the rest of the franchise. But I guess it more so feels that way because it was so close to Infinity War. Had we been maybe an extra year or so, you'd be like, okay, well, it's not that big of a deal. There was an interview with James Gunn, I think, where he talked about how he kind of set up the whole like Infinity Stone stuff, and Marvel just kind of ran with it. So I'm kind of curious to see if it's also something where he already had like where he wanted to go. He's more of a vocal, like, no, I kind of want to stick to my guns sort of thing, and like I want to tell this story versus being so collaborative. I would figure that that's the case. to be honest with you, and then just kind of knowing some of the inner workings of like the whole like movie industry politics, like I feel like that was probably his whole get, was like, I'll do this movie, but I want to do it this way, and I'm only gonna use this and that where it makes sense. So maybe not the best team player, I guess, is where it ultimately comes off from. But to be honest, I don't really find too much fault in this movie being a little bit standalone. Matter of fact, I feel like the movies that can stand alone and don't feel way too connected but still add enough, I'd rather lean that way for my for stuff like the MCU, where it's not necessarily like we're going from part A to part B, but you're just building certain things up in there. The build up to Infinity War and Endgame to me felt throughout the whole thing more of a like, we're setting up little things here and there, but it doesn't. I guess outside of the Avengers movie, it didn't feel like needed homework, I guess, for you to catch up to this. So for me, this one didn't feel like a big sin for it not to be so interconnected. But yeah, like it didn't bother me too much, is what I'm trying to say.
No, I think you make a really good point. I like to think of other MCU films that led up to this that maybe were a bit closer tied to the Infinity War storyline that I think are far more inferior as films. I'm thinking of Thor: The Dark World compared to this. Like, I would rather watch this. And I think storyline wise, Dark World is much closely tied to the Infinity Saga. But in terms of actual storytelling, this is a much more compelling film on its own with elements from the universe. And I'll just leave my thoughts there.
I think if you like the characters, it is. This film does something curious that Thor: The Dark World also did. So Thor: The Dark World, what was the villain's name in there? I don't even remember. He was the dark elf guy.
Malekith.
Okay.
Malekith.
So his scheme in like, it was something about like the planets aligning, and it was like the convergence or whatever.
The convergence, man.
Whatever. But like, so basically, if he had succeeded, it would have wiped out all life in the universe. That's what that film established, which seems like a big deal.
Yep.
This film does something similar with Ego's plan, which would have wiped out all life in the universe. So it's this side quest that goes nowhere. It's a complete dead end, which is fine. If you don't mind the standalone aspect of it, it's fine. But it's ultimately higher stakes than what Thanos wants to do.
Yeah. If anything,
which
way less
really
altruistic.
detracts from the overall threat of Thanos that all of these films have been building up towards. And it's just this side quest. It goes nowhere. It gets foiled pretty easily. And even though I would say the stakes in this film's plot are quite high because everyone in the universe will die, this film does not feel like high stakes at all.
No, I see your point. I think from like when I think of the context of who the Guardians are, they are a ragtag team, that they are not the Avengers. They are not the first line of defense. So it's like absolutely poetic that they are the ones that have to deal with universe level threat that no one will ever hear about. And
I mean, it is their namesake.
Yeah. And it also is very closely tied to how they are in the comics, very much unsung heroes. Now, the stakes of how it feels, that's all on the tone. I don't know if that's necessarily just the story itself, because a lot of the weight in the story is more so felt in the relationships between like family. You know, Garrett, you made a really great point about how family, especially, you know, father and son relationships are just so important in this story as a whole. I think that was probably more so the message felt versus any, you know, Infinity War or greater Marvel storyline tie-in. And let's be fair, every villain in a Marvel film is very inconsequential leading up to Thanos. Like, they're very much just one movie villains.
You bring up a really good point about that too. And I mean, you kind of talked about it before with like the whole lead up, but it really is. It's like, I don't want to say a prequel almost to like Infinity War, but it's like, we know these villains aren't going to succeed and Thanos is like the greatest threat. But really, there are some villains who have, to your point, like the convergence or literally propagating your seed throughout the entire galaxy. Like, you can make the case that Ego kind of, you know, for lack of better analogies, blew his load here, or metaphors, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Like, he blew his load too early. Yeah, I mean, it is gross when you kind of think about it. But this is like a pretty good plan. If he just waited a few more years, I think that's his biggest sin is he just got too eager after Peter made a ball with light for the first time too. Like if he just waited a few years, Ego probably could have succeeded.
It was very premature, for sure.
It was very premature too.
Kind of a dumbass.
Oh
kind,
no.
kind of a dumbass. You cannot understand why this is Peter Quill's father. That is for sure.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be a god, lowercase g.
Yeah, and Kurt
Lowercase
Russell
G,
isn't his actual form. It's just how he sees him, right?
He also purposely designed himself a nice member, which him and Drax talk in excruciating detail about, which is a fact that I forgot. And
Yeah,
like,
you want to
okay,
talk about
all
the tone of this film. Jesus.
again, everything great about this movie is amped up to 10. Everything horrible is amped up to 100.
Yeah, this was a detour to me. That was a deal breaker for me. Even when I was rewatching this first episode, I'm like, I don't know. This feels like something that should have came after Infinity War.
It is kind of interesting if you look at Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in that same lens too, because that story is wholly disconnected from whatever multiverse saga or whatever saga we're building towards. And that is a detour in and of itself. And that movie, honestly, I think holds up a lot better as one of the post-Endgame films because it really does stand on its own and doesn't buckle under the weight of the larger MCU with any retconning and things like that. So, Pat, I agree with your point. I feel like if this was almost Guardians of the Galaxy post-Endgame movie, it would have been better received by fans of Marvel for that exact reason.
In terms of reception, I think that at this point, fans were still very bought in to we want Infinity War. So this does feel like a bit of a break from that momentum. So I totally agree on that sense. Like, why move away from that? Especially if I'm the studio and thinking I want to like build off of that hype. As just a fan of like film, being a massive nerd, I'm just glad that like I do appreciate telling a story within universe without necessarily having to have that agenda, because I still feel like there are a lot of uneven puzzle pieces when it comes to having characters from Guardians of the Galaxy interact with mainline Marvel characters. I don't know if they've completely perfected that yet, of like Groot interacting with like Iron Man. I don't know if that works out.
I mean, we saw it in real time not happen well in Thor: Love and Thunder, which you could also make the case was Taika getting high on his own supply. If you want to make the case for Gunn getting high on his own supply. Sorry to interrupt, but
I think you totally illustrate my point here. That if it's still not perfected in the way of like how to make these universes meld, at least we can see the sandbox that is played with like more cosmic Marvel and the strengths to that like cosmic play. It's very similar in like the comic book series, just around you look at different aspects, whether you're the street level hero, whether you're the Avengers, whether you're the Guardians of the Galaxy, however far they are, everyone has an existential universe ending threat. They just, no one necessarily knows about whatever other teams are dealing with. So this to me is still believable and fun as a Marvel film, but does it distract from the overarching Infinity Saga? Yeah, I would definitely say so. But is it like a fun film? I think that in itself, storyline wise, yeah, absolutely.
I also don't know where else it could fit if they were going to release this, right? Like, because I feel like even the break between Infinity War and Endgame, what did we have? We had Captain Marvel, right? Between those two, which to me felt a little bit of an awkward, like, oh, by the way, here's a piece that we forgot to tell you about back in Phase 1.
Ant-Man and the Wasp was the other one too.
That's
right.
That's true.
But you could also make the case that feels wholly disconnected outside of a post-credit stinger.
That's right.
You're also kind of making the point. You're really making the point for ourselves by literally forgetting the film.
Yep.
Yeah, can't forget Jessica Jones season 3, same time.
Episode 6.
Hear me out. Season 1, Jessica Jones, peak Marvel television. So excited for her in Daredevil Born Again season 2. I apologize for the digression.
No, it's fine. We'll all look forward to that.
Pat's like, keep talking, please. The more you guys talk about this movie, the better.
Well, I haven't seen a lot of these other things you're talking about.
Because you go outside and touch grass and live in the real world.
Well, I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp and remember nothing about it. And Captain Marvel, I don't know if I saw it.
But this film, there are a lot of memorable moments that do stick out for better or worse. I think like that's for sure.
I think definitely for worse. Yeah, this was tough for me to get through. Anton, I got serious Star Trek V vibes from this.
Okay, I can see that.
Where Star Trek V, if you're watching the original ones, you got 2, 3, 4, and 6 really flow nicely into each other, and 5 is just kind of
5 was literally the one about like a semi-celestial being.
Yeah, that's why I was reminded of that. And they go to this planet, and it's got a really, really amped up, goofy tone to it.
Which one's got the whales?
That's 4.
That's 4.
4.
Yeah.
Apologies, a little rusty.
No, that's fine. It's fine. We can't be experts on everything.
As much as we'd like to be.
But yeah, this film, one of my favorite things about the first Guardians of the Galaxy is that it introduced us, people who like me, who knew nothing about them, to this cosmic side of the Marvel Universe, right? They set up an Infinity Stone, but that was also really the first real screen time we got with Thanos. We had gotten glimpses of him in, I think, the first Avengers film, where he looks completely different, played by a different actor. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Guardians 1 is Brolin's first appearance.
Yep.
And it fit very nicely into the overall saga. This is also considerably longer. It's a full 15 minutes longer. I felt not as well paced. You get stuff like, I was timing this just because I was hate watching it at this point. The final battle against Ego, it's 30 minutes long. It's like, it does not need to.
Not even a good battle.
No. There was a lot of things left to be desired here for me.
Yeah, it absolutely strays from the typical path of what we would expect from a Marvel film. And I think that this is where you get the sense of James Gunn. Like, James Gunn was probably given like a big green light to just move in the direction that he wanted to, because this feels like a very James Gunn film. Now that we've gone a lot of James Gunn, haven't we? Probably more so than the first Guardians film, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, because Garrett, before we started recording, you made a really good point about the book. I think you should mention it now.
Yeah, it's if anyone has read Joanna Robinson's book, and obviously it was written with other authors whose names I'm sadly forgetting right now, The Reign of Marvel Studios, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is basically one paragraph in the entire book itself, and it's not really talked about, which kind of just shows how almost it was forgotten in the Infinity Saga and kind of in just any discourse overall. And she's even on record saying she has a ton of interviews, like from discussions with Feige and Gunn about it, but just none of it was, for lack of better words, noteworthy compared to what else was in a pretty extensive book in history.
It's a great point, Garrett. I mean, probably like you, I went to the book to prepare for this recording, and there was just nothing to use. And Anton, I keep telling you to read the book. You should. Ivan, you'd love the book too if you haven't read it. Like, just for some context, there's an entire chapter about Ultron, but this one, nothing.
I'm about a chapter in, I think. Yeah, I'm like.
Well, Ivan knows how to read, but Anton,
nope.
You sure?
I don't know.
I have to record the notes in advance for Anton, and he plays them.
It's like Drumline, where you're just kind of like reciting from memory.
It's that one scene in Idiocracy where someone on the cabinet's looking at a magic 8-ball and then looks up.
Idiocracy.
Yeah.
I could see that. You do yell "Go away, Baton" usually when I try to talk to you, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a typical me.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of, again, just to get back to Guardians, my vote. It's fine to have something that feels like a side quest, or to have something that feels like it's not the main line.
I agree with that.
When it's released, I think probably affects reception more so.
I think you're right, because the first Ant-Man is basically a side quest. It's not that well connected to the rest of the Infinity Saga. I enjoyed it. So I agree with you in theory.
Does feel like a comic book in that sense, in the sense that it does feel like I picked up an issue and get to read about what the Guardians of the Galaxy did that week. And to that, I give it credit for feeling like a true comic book.
It doesn't like the issue of Guardians and the multi crossover thing where there's just one page dedicated to what's going on with the rest of it, or it ends with
that little insert too. And it's like, and by the way, this was happening at the same time, dear readers.
Yeah, the editor's note.
Stanley note. Yeah. Hey, true believers, make sure that you were.
He's like, make sure you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I'm like, get out of here.
I like the Stan Lee cameo in this. It's pretty funny.
Great Stanley cameo. One of the better ones.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Tony Stank? No, that's a
pretty
different
great
movie. But that reminded me of what did he say? I was a FedEx driver or whatever.
He was a FedEx driver.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Stanley.
Stanley,
R.I.P.
rest in
Stanley.
peace.
Made me
Right
think
there.
about that. Oh yeah, we don't have Stanley cameos anymore.
Was it
Fortunately,
the
he
last
filmed a bunch in advance.
James Gunn, didn't he film like 6 at a time or something like that?
I think he did, yeah.
That's in the book, probably more written about than Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Imagine that conversation that Feige had with him. Like, look, Stan, you're probably going to die soon. So,
You know, Feige made this face. He's like, look.
look, Stan, we love you, but
Can we just get like 20 shots of you saying Excelsior?
Yeah. We'll do like Ridley Scott style. Just set up 8 cameras all around, and one of them will be good.
ugh. Ridley
Yeah, I knew
Scott.
you'd like that, Pat.
Ugh. Am I wrong? I don't think I am.
You're not. No.
Thank you.
Retire. We love you, Ridley.
Yeah,
Retire.
please, just someone
Yeah.
take the car keys from him. It's time. Well, CGI downgrade from the first film, too. There's a lot more here. The first film's a good looking piece of work. This is way more. I got real Attack of the Clone vibes from the set, the lack of sets. I was shocked to hear they took up all the sound stages at Pinewood Studio because the whole thing looks CGI to me. Nothing looks real in this film.
It's very in your face, the effects, and I will say the practical costumes do look really cool when seeing the behind the scenes and a lot of the makeup. But when it's seeing this again on Blu-ray, I think they definitely improved a bit since the second one.
I will say, though, rewatching this, you definitely kind of see the seams a lot more, obviously, when you're watching from home, too. But the initial fight against the obelisk, I think that fight scene looks amazing. Anytime that monster is spitting magical goo out of its mouth, honestly, I'm just sorry for all my word choices this episode, listeners. That honestly looks amazing with all of the characters fighting around too. But when you get to like Contraxia and Yondu has his little existential crisis with Sly, that set feels so small and contained. Same thing with Ego's planet. I agree with you. It does feel very Attack of the Clones. Even the design itself of the planet is just great in theory, but you really do kind of feel it ripping it apart at the seams. I would say especially in that middle stretch, beginning and honestly some parts of that end battle and scenes itself out in space, I do think are a treat to the eyes, but overall, a lot more bad than good.
Yeah, I don't know if it was so much the CGI itself. This was really, by 2017, we had really gotten into that cookie cutter Marvel look where everything had to be lit the same. The lighting on a lot of the stuff feels unnatural. It's very flat. That's where I was trying to remind, like, that's what the
Ego's
Attack of the
planet,
Clones stuff
especially.
reminded me. Yeah.
During any dark scenes, it felt like it was a bit unnatural.
I do think it has more to do with the lighting than CGI, because I feel like I compare it to like Multiverse of Madness a couple of years later, and like that movie to me is like the most eyesore of all the more modern Marvel films. Although that stuff, just like as a post-production guy, like there was a lot of get this good enough and we'll take it sort of thing, which like I can talk for hours about the whole the Flash movie and the terrible post-production of that stuff. But
what?
I've got friends who worked on that movie, and it's been a whole
Flash
like
didn't look great. You're telling me that his little speed treadmill at the end didn't look good?
There's
I love the interviews where they were like, it was intentional. It's supposed to look that way because he's moving at such high speed. I was like, God, no, just say
it's supposed to be bad.
Guys, that's the point. That's the point.
I think the worst toy tie-in I've ever seen is that the Flash's like villain character at the end is just the Flash, but with like a bunch of crap like stuck on him, and that was a toy that they ended up putting out, was that future Flash with like mud on his face and like what was it, like a car fender stuck in his arm. I wish I was exaggerating.
You're not making this up.
No,
he's not.
No.
And he's wearing Michael Keaton's repurposed Batman suit that was spray painted red.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I can safely say I will never watch that.
It's not a good film.
It's not on our list, so I don't have to.
Can one request it through Patreon?
You can. Anton and I have the right to veto anything.
I mean, if someone wants to, I was gonna say, if someone like made a very sizable contribution to either the show or
fine sizable,
like
$12.
Yeah.
I'll give Pat $100 to sit down and watch The Flash.
I would probably contribute.
It's a bad movie, but I just want to hear him talk about it.
Oh, well, $100, okay.
You would do a lot worse for $100 watching movie wise.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing.
You would watch this a lot more.
You want to know what I'm doing for free? Because I stupidly agreed to this. When we hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, I agreed to watch an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Wow.
You should have me on for M. Night Shyamalan because I will fight tooth and nail for that man.
For Avatar: The Last Airbender?
No, for everything he's done since The Visit, M. Night Shyamalan.
And then the person who propositioned this,
Who positioned you?
he flipped this on me because I was going. Here's what my plan was. So, by the way, I think the film is old. I think that's what we're gonna have to watch. So
I'll talk old any day of the week.
I think I mentioned this to Anton, but I'll tell you guys. So I thought I was gonna get to choose. So what I was gonna do is reverse Uno card everyone and make everyone watch After Earth. But apparently I agreed to let this other person pick the film for me. So
is it set? Did he pick?
He picked old. If you're fine with that too,
Anton, you look so upset at that right now.
It's just, will I ever get that 108 minutes back?
No. And, we have a lot of films we need to cover on the podcast, Garrett. That was never on the list. Now I have to dedicate an entire episode to that. But I agreed to do it, and I'm a man of my word.
Here we are.
And The Flash.
There are much worse films. There are much worse films I'd rather talk about. Like, I'm just not interested in talking about old.
I haven't even seen it. I know I'm not going to like it.
Did anyone expect it to be good?
No. He's self-financing his own movies at this point. No one expects anything from M. Night Shyamalan. He stinks.
I'm not spoiling this for you guys. The first 90% of Old is a fantastic movie.
Okay.
Fantastic?
Honestly, to me it was. And then the
Like
last 10% happened. And I remember I saw it in the theater. This was like 2021, so I'm just going back to the movies. One guy in my theater went, "Are you fucking kidding me? Come on!" And like literally slapped his knees in the middle of a theater of like 7 people. It was awesome.
Is this the one where they age the kids and the guys on the beach age up every couple minutes or so?
Oh, yeah, there's a spooky beach.
And there's a twist.
And there's a
Of course,
twist.
there's a twist.
There's a twist.
I'm about to watch that movie after this.
I'd rather that we just talk about how M. Night Shyamalan like tricked people into thinking that like he had paranormal like happenings growing up and like convinced Sci-Fi Channel to make fake documentaries about it.
He's a con man.
I love it. I love it so much. I live for his life story.
He has, in my opinion, the worst run of 5 films by any filmmaker ever.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. But hey, Trap Hive.
Let me refresh your memory, Ivan, because I can see you thinking about this. So in a row, he released The Village, Lady in the Water, The Happening, The Last Airbender, and After Earth.
I always forget he's After Earth. I don't know why I attributed that one to Michael Bay.
Find me a filmmaker who has a worse 5-film run than that.
To be fair, there are like we can find
the Michael Bay.
No, I mean, like I'm talking like these were like movies with big budgets,
but
like people invested time and money in.
He's someone who got 5 blank checks and burned them all.
He really did.
Anyway,
back to Guardians 2.
Yeah, back to Guardians 2. Speaking of blank checks,
that was Let's talk about the tone because that's the next reason why I don't think this was better. Other than Rush Hour 2 and maybe other things I can't think of, how many comedy sequels are better than the first?
22 Jump Street,
Rush Hour 2.
I said Rush Hour 2.
Yeah, Jungle 2 Jungle.
22 Jump Street again.
Jumanji
Ace
2.
Ventura.
Yeah, Jumanji 2. Jumanji 2.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Ace Ventura 2.
No, is that better than the first one?
Well, I love the second one.
Dumb and Dumberer.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you count Lethal Weapon 2 as a comedy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort
Yeah.
of. I think that's better than the first one. It's the one with the South Africans. Come on. And Joe Pesci.
They never made a Norbit 2, but I imagine Norbit 2 would have been better than the first one.
They didn't?
No.
Wait. Shrek 2?
Shrek 2.
Ooh. Yeah.
Shrek 2's, yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? No.
Come on.
Bad Boys 2?
No.
Incredibles 2? Nah.
No.
No.
I'm just trying.
Paddington 2.
Yo, Paddington.
Toy Story 2.
Paddington 2 is pretty good. Is that a
Toy
comedy?
Story 2?
No, these aren't comedies. Now we're just naming sequels we all love.
Well, Guardians
Austin
2
Powers.
is
The
not.
Spider
Good
Shagged
one.
Me.
Yeah, the Spider Shagged Me is better than the first
Yeah.
one.
That one is better than the first one.
There you go.
Wayne's World.
No.
No, the first one's better.
But hey, I appreciate the good insight and ideas and contributions.
Cruel Intentions 2. It's funnier than the first one.
Is there a second one?
Yeah, it's really bad.
There's a grenade one, but like Christmas Vacation.
There's a second Christmas Vacation?
I didn't even know. I honestly didn't know
No,
there
I
was a
mean it
second one.
technically isn't it a sequel to?
I don't know. I know
Vacation?
there's a kind of remake that I never saw.
I saw that one with Ed Helm.
Yeah, not.
You don't need
That
to.
was okay.
Or was that
Alright.
just Vacation? I don't know. We're really
That was just
veering off the
Vacation.
cliff of Guardians 2 here.
But yeah, comedy sequel's better than the original. It's tough, but we named a few, so it's possible.
It's possible, yes. Not with this one. So I watched the first one back to back with this. I was surprised how much more juvenile the humor is in this one. There's poop jokes, there's dick jokes, it's like a 12-year-old wrote this film.
Yeah, it's
Much
James,
more
it's a
over
James
the
Gunn
top.
movie.
I felt it was a more mature level of humor in the first one.
It was.
Yeah, I agree.
The first one played it more safe. I'll say that. Like, I think the first one is a much more approachable film for like the masses, whereas the second one is starting to really feel like James Gunn's feeling himself and wanting to put all the edgy jokes that he loves and his style of humor. And I think anyone that's seen the film Slither before this, that feels way more like a James Gunn film than the first Guardians film. This feels much closer to Slither and even like the most recent Superman film than what the first Guardian films felt as like James Gunn wise.
I mean, to be fair, he had a whole minute-long joke about Kurt Russell designing his human penis. And in the first movie, he did have a joke about Star-Lord's ship being covered in his semen as a Jackson Pollock painting.
Mhm.
So, I think it's always been there, but yeah, a little more pronounced probably in this one.
Definitely more pronounced here. And as someone who really enjoys the Marvel humor, I found this very much at odds with like what was in the Iron Man films, what was in the first and second Avengers films. Much more, I thought the humor in those films was much more clever than this. Where this is, I just was kind of surprised to hear this in this film, like where jokes about the size of characters, turds, stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, I not very subtle at all.
I mean, I'm team like it's edgy, and they're just trying to be edgy.
Is it edgy or idiotic?
I
Could be a
agree.
bit of both.
It's trying to be edgy, but I think the issue is when every moment has to be punctuated by a joke. Almost every scene is punctuated by a joke in this film. It becomes grating after a while. So whether it's edgy or idiotic, it just becomes tiresome to me.
I definitely got tired of it. Especially, there was a number of recurring jokes that I just did not find funny the first time. Like the taser face thing. They tried that 4 or 5 times and just not doing it.
I feel like it was this film where Drax went from... Like, they really made Drax dumb in this film.
Yeah.
The first time he calls Mantis ugly, fine, funny. The 15th time, you're like, I got it here.
I think you can kind of tell, especially later phases of the MCU, which movies, I guess Kevin Feige sat on a little bit more during production versus when he's not. And I think that kind of shows through it because I feel like, and I haven't read the book that you guys have listed out, but I think I haven't read it all the way through. But I feel like the architect of that universe is more so Kevin Feige than we kind of realize, even though like everybody does give him credit. But I think the extent of it, like I think he's the guy that's like limiting stuff from going a little too overboard for most of it. And I think it's very evident in the later phases of Marvel where things just kind of went off the rails. But this might be an example of that because, like, yeah, I feel like this, Anton, to your point, this felt more like the Superman movie, the recent Superman movie than the first Guardians did. And I feel like the first Guardians felt like it was telling an edgy joke, but knew where the line was to not go too hard into it. And the same thing with like Taika Waititi when he got free reign of Thor in his second Thor film. It just kind of went all over the place, and it became like, okay, well, like, you know, by the third or fourth time I hear the same joke or the same type of thing, it's like, all right, well, I've had enough. Let's get to the next scene.
Yeah, for the record too, it's like someone like Gunn clearly develops such strong identity for his characters even before shooting a movie. I mean, I remember reading like production notes for Superman. He designed playlists for every character in the movie so all the actors can understand who the person or who the character was that the actor was playing too. It's the same thing. Like, he writes the needle drops into the script before he even gets clearances for the music. So the man knows how to diegetically, literally diegetically play with his films, whether it be actors' choices, character choices, and music itself. But again, sometimes when it goes unchecked, it goes a little bit off the rails. And to his credit, I think he formed such an identity for all the Guardians characters, which clearly shines throughout the movies. It's on record that he wrote all the dialogue for the characters too in Thor: Love and Thunder, as well as in Infinity War and in Endgame as well, because people trust that identity. But when people can't check it properly or let it go a little too, I don't want to say too unchecked, to your point, Ivan, that's when it can get a little like grating and almost tiresome, because it's like, all right, we got it. We get it. Enough.
I think that he even learned, like, I do feel like Gunn learned from this film, because you see the huge tone shift in a film like even Guardians 3, which came out much later, but huge tone shift. And even then, between this and Guardians 3, we had the Suicide Squad, which I thought was a much more balanced film in terms of tone, action, comedy, but still feeling like the James Gunn brand of humor, which in the right doses.
The funniest tweet I found about this movie, it says, if Hot Topic were a movie, it would be this movie.
All right,
There's a lot
that.
there. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think it's just a subjective thing for me. I just don't think I care for James Gunn. Although I did like the new Superman, but the sample size that I've seen, which is quite small, if this is a standard template for what James Gunn does, I'm not a fan of what he's doing.
I don't think this is. I think this is. I really do think that this was a bit more experimentation, especially when we think of where it fits in Marvel. Like, this was almost like greenlit. Play in your sandbox, have fun. We really like what you did with the first one. Let's see what sticks. And for James Gunn, like, it was a lot of learning, because he probably takes a lot of the criticism that we've talked about, like how much is the humor overplayed. That's not what we loved about the first film. It wasn't this edgy humor talking about like turds or talking about like all of the nipple mentions in the film. But the emotional aspects, I thought, again, like that really drove home. I really loved the tone when they touched on Yondu's storyline. I much prefer that.
Yondu definitely had the best storyline. I do think Gunn's forced sitcom Big Bang Theory style humor got in the way of some of the other stuff. Like in the same scene where he's telling Peter, I killed your mom and thousands of my own children, we get the David Hasselhoff morphing into. That's tonal whiplash for me. It's just, I just wish, if there's one scene where you're going to dial back on the humor, that should have been it. It's supposed to be this huge discovery moment for Peter, and he can't help himself. Like, let's put the David Hasselhoff cameo in here.
Can I make a point right now, tying it to Ego? And I want to see what you guys react to this. So we know the villain of this movie's name is Ego, and this movie is literally and metaphorically about Freud in a sense, but I would say specifically the id, and we can really see the id, or really characters' impulses, and really the creator James Gunn's impulses coming out so much in this movie too. We see him kind of going for the lowbrow jokes multiple times over and over throughout the script. I mean, we even see it with characters. Groot is literally a baby, all impulse. Rocket's mean self-sabotaging behavior is the one that really kicks off the inciting conflict to where Ego finds him. Ego's whole ideal is his cosmic hunger to expand himself across the universe. It's pure drive. And even Peter's initial attraction to limitless power is all pure id. And it is really interesting to see like kind of the characters wrestle with these thoughts towards the end. And, you know, if you think about the final battle, it's really a little micro example of the three ideals of Freud, you know, id, ego, superego. I'm really showing my psych minor off right now. But again, the id is that ego's trying to consume the universe and Peter's attraction to it all. And then Peter's ego kind of cuts in with that conscious self-deciding of who he is when he rejects that power to save his friends and innocent worlds, which unfortunately is cut through with awful tone choices like turning into Pac-Man, which honestly I audibly groaned at. And then really kind of culminates in that super ego of that higher consciousness where Yondu is like, I need to stop giving into my worst impulses and really sacrifice myself, and really kind of owning up to who he is and recognizing himself as Peter's father. And even the team, like, kind of recognizing, like, we're not becoming a family, we are a family. And that's the ideal that Peter chooses to live up to, even at the cost of what he wants. So it is really funny that, you know, James Gunn gives into his id so much in this movie, but really the idea of id ego and super ego are so fully realized throughout the movie. And it's just such a shame that the tone doesn't kind of capture that emotional kind of through line. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk and my thesis on Psych of Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Hope you enjoyed it.
Well said, Garrett. Well said.
We were talking about Ego's plan earlier.
His what?
His plan.
Oh, I misheard. Okay.
It could also be as planned.
What do we think of Ego as a villain?
It's fine. It's all right.
Better than Ronan.
They made Ronan so one-dimensional.
Oh, I think I like Ronan better. I like the actor better. Plays a better villain. I don't like Kurt Russell as a villain.
Yeah,
I much prefer comic book Ronan, but
is he more fun in the comics?
He's so much fun in the comics.
He's a bad ass.
I think I just like that actor, Lee Pace. Big fan of his.
Love Lee Pace. He was one of the only good parts of the recent Running Man movies, and they cover his face for like 90% of the movie. It's like, you don't hire Lee Pace to cover his face. Pace face.
Yeah, Kurt Russell, I just don't buy him as a bad guy. I know what they're trying to do here. He's the friendly dad figure, but it's just, he shouldn't be playing villains. He's much better suited to a, you know, heroic type of role.
Yeah, it was also introducing like the concept of Celestials before we get the official Eternals films. And look, it's playing in the cosmic side of Marvel. There's way more films released on like Earth side of things that just getting behind like the importance of a Celestial and how powerful that is, it gets lost on you real fast in this film.
Celestials are really lost in the MCU in general, between this, Thor Love and Thunder, and even Eternals itself.
Yeah, it's just
Celestials are hard to adapt. Sorry, Jack Kirby.
Yeah, super just improper power scaling, I think, maybe. Or just no one really understands the power scaling of them, but
I didn't.
They're ultra powerful, and
it was unclear to me, like, he's a planet, he's this thing with a brain that they can blow up seemingly pretty easily. They take him out. It just takes a half hour on screen.
Isn't he Ego, the living planet?
Yes, I suppose.
He's a planet that gained consciousness and forms matter around him, in terms of planet with bones and Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I don't know. McConaughey would have been more interesting to me in this kind of role.
As a sleaze that just sleeps around the universe.
100% that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just I have so much history with Kurt Russell. I just don't buy him as a bad guy. He's Kurt Russell. He's Santa Claus now.
I mean, I think that's the fun. Like, I think that's more of a challenge of the actor to work with the material. I think Kurt Russell definitely. I don't think that Kurt Russell necessarily played it horribly as a villain. I just think that the actual material itself didn't lend me to like take Ego super, super seriously as like an ultra villain. But I don't also like
super ego.
Yeah, but then at the same time, like, I don't know how much of that is also because I'm jaded as a superhero film fan that knows all villains are inconsequential until we get to the real one.
I mean, Gunn is also on record saying he wanted the villain plot and the emotional plot to be one thing in the second movie. Like, Ego's villain agenda and the Guardians' personal issues, I mean, it's literally Peter's dad is the issue itself of the film, and Rocket's self-loathing. They're all facets of the same story, whereas Ronan's Xandar plan and team bonding are two parallel threads that converge with a dance-off.
A dance-off. That is how the first one ended. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, which I also forgot about.
Yeah. This one was kind of like we just have to blow up the thing.
Let's be fair. It's not like the first Guardians film was necessarily a completely original storyline. It was basically like the Avengers in space, but also they're all very edgy.
I did like Ego's Hall of Exposition with his exposition dioramas. By the way, I'm kidding. It's some of the worst exposition I've ever seen in a film.
You don't like it when somebody regales you stories of how he just slept around the world, but then fell in love with your mother? Yes, that's the story I want to hear from my father.
Kurt Russell might as well have just said, like, I can tell from the screenplay that my motivations aren't very clear. What we're going to do is use computer-generated imagery to show you what my character has done.
Ivan, have you ever made a diorama like that, just walking around in Queens, just to tell people about your personal history?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah,
exactly. That's how I get people to know my motivations of anything. To be honest,
just Ivan walks around with shoebox dioramas to anyone that would listen in Queens, but that would be like the 5th weirdest thing that people have seen all day.
Right. Right.
Except the dioramas are all of it's this was my Thanksgiving dinner. Check it out.
I actually
that sounds like something
liked
you've seen
the CGI in that scene. It looked like claymation in kind of a cool way. I thought that was kind of pretty creative CGI.
The designs on Ego's planet itself are awesome, like with the fractals and those whole designs.
I think a lot of thought went into the design of that. I have to give them credit.
I mean, the whole idea of Ego's planet being beautiful on the surface and then just gross and morbid and hollowed out.
Yeah, it's very
surface, a great idea.
That's well thought out. I think
well thought out. A for effort.
A for effort.
I'll always talk up the soundtrack to this movie. that was my big positive note for this film.
Best soundtrack, 1, 2, or 3. Should we go around the horn and rank, or am I kind of getting ahead of myself?
I really do love Cat Stevens, so man, I think I got to go with 2.
Yeah. Brandy was such a strong hit too. That was one song that kept sticking in my head. But again, I feel the same about even the recent Superman movie. James Gunn just has a knack for choosing some really good music for his characters.
Yeah, I mean, James Gunn makes me suddenly listen to Iggy Pop again and I can't think of the last time I wanted to listen to Iggy Pop.
Do you know how seen I feel as an emo kid that this version of Superman is like a pop punk Prince? That guy is rolling around listening to Motion City
Mighty Boss Tones.
Yeah, Fallout Boy. He loves the Aquabats. Yeah, he's definitely Real Big Fish.
Motion City soundtrack. Haven't heard that name in a while. I'm going to a Yellow Card Newfound Glory Plain White Tees concert this summer in Central Park, and I know that David Cornsweat's Superman would be at that concert too.
I was like, wait, is it 2010? Whoa.
Nope. But I got a great deal on tickets.
I kind of want to go to this thing now too.
Yeah, that's right. Let's go. We're going to do a live episode of Why Wasn't It Better in the Park?
Oh, I'd do it.
Punk in the Park with the boys.
Punk in the Park?
Yeah, I'd do it for money.
Pat's impetus is he'll do things if you pay him.
I mean, we literally created a Patreon tier for that. We will cover one of these movies if you pay us a certain amount of money per month.
Yeah. So go ahead and tune in, folks, and check it out.
Yeah, check out the Patreon.
The Flash coming soon.
Oh, what's the one we vetoed, Anton? Jurassic Park Rebirth.
Jurassic Park,
no, we're not doing that.
It's not. I really
straight up
vetoed it.
I literally got a text last night from a friend. He's like, "Hey man, have you watched the new Jurassic Park?" And I'm like, "No." And I was like, "There's
Jurassic
a new
World."
one?
Sorry.
Who would actually okay,
sorry.
Look, I don't want to offend anyone on the call and I don't want to offend any listeners, but it's just who's going to the theaters just to see that thinking this is gonna be worth my while and this is gonna change the way I think about Jurassic Park.
I know one person.
Is his name Ivan?
No, it's not me. I had an old coworker of mine that was super, super into Jurassic Park.
Is his name Anton Paras?
It is not Anton.
Look, I can definitely see still being into Jurassic Park just because dinosaurs are very cool. But Jurassic World, Scarlett Johansson in the series, I don't.
You don't like Chris Pratt, Owen Grady holding his hands up to stop the raptors? Ego.
Yeah, Chris Pratt
is eating planets. He should have held his hands up against Ego. That would.
We haven't really talked about the rest of the cast. I mean, they're fine. They're good.
Rules in this movie, and
she's a great character.
She's an awesome character.
She becomes probably the most consequential part of Endgame and the Infinity Saga, and I think also that's a great super ego example right there of her internal realization of, wow, it really wasn't Gamora's fault. She was also fighting to survive, and I've never thought about that as well. The recontextualization of their sisterhood, I think, is one of the best plot threads in this film.
Gamora a lot more subdued in this film.
She's the most grounded and normal character, which is hilarious to think that this maniac.
And her character totally switches to going into 3, but that actually makes a lot of sense why. So, because it's not the same character.
Also, Gamora is the one who needs to be listened to the most in this movie. Stop fighting, Rocket and Peter. Guys, this planet seems like it's something weird. Nebula, stop trying to kill me and just listen for once. She is like really kind of the voice of reason. She is the ego of this movie.
Yeah, it's if Gamora was the more grounded individual, Drax was Flanderized a lot in this film for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is that unfair?
Great verb.
Great use of Flanderization.
Yeah.
It really is a shame because Drax is such like a deeply kind of human character in terms of his motivations.
Oh,
and
yeah,
there's
tragic.
There is such a beautiful scene where we know Drax's backstory of Thanos killing his whole family, where him and Mantis are kind of like sitting out, looking at almost like, you know, the egoscape of it all. And she just puts his arm on him and just starts crying. Whereas he is just kind of like almost like blissfully looking out, like remembering his family too. And that's just such a beautiful scene. But for all of that, you get it undercut with, I like a woman with more meat on my bones. Blech, the thought of being intimate with you. I bet you have a nice penis. And you're just like, bro.
It's just
awful.
Pull it back. Because
Yeah,
that
awful.
scene is, I think, one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire film, if not all of Marvel, honestly.
yeah, and it gets undercut
It really does.
because you get the rest of how the character's been written.
I think to your point of James Gunn learning too, that was one of my biggest issues going into Superman recently, was like, I hope they hold on to the more like emotional moment for a bit before cracking a joke. And I feel like he did a much better job at it with this than he did back in Guardians 2.
Well, we have
That's where it
just
comes to, I guess.
blown right through the notes. So
Prematurely.
Well, you know, just
I don't know. I think we're doing all right timing wise.
Yeah, I think like we gotta give we still gotta touch on the rest of the crew. I mean, Baby Groot was in the film because we gotta have the Baby Groot merchandise.
Right. Right.
I have a Baby Groot Funko literally sitting 2 inches away from me right now on my desk.
Baby Groot definitely accounts for like what 50 millions in sales.
The most
that year.
toyetic thing maybe ever.
Got its own little
Just some Baby
Disney
Yoda.
Plus TV series, too.
Did he?
Baby
Well, that's
Yoda was
true.
great for them.
Baby Yoda's a good one, yeah.
Who's
I need
cuter?
a Baby Yoda.
Groot, Baby Yoda.
crossover.
Who's cuter?
Ooh, Baby Yoda's a more eternally baby. So
Baby Groot
Yeah,
Baby
is
Yoda.
responsible for actually one of the only lines in the movie that made me laugh. After the mutiny, and one of Taserface's goons is like, "Can I just smash this thing with a hammer?" And he goes, "No, it's too adorable to kill."
That is a great...
that is a great line.
We as the writer, we know what you're all thinking.
Yeah.
Do not worry, nothing happens to this.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, all right, that made me laugh.
Baby
Not
Groot's
much
got
else
some-
did.
You know what, though? I will say, like, the intro of kind of focusing the fight away from the Guardians, just following Baby Groot with that little oneer, I think is a great way of, like, subverting, like, the action prologue that is very common in Marvel movies as well.
One thing I want to toss in real quick.
Pat's like, stop
guys.
defending it.
I hated it.
Stop defending it.
I hated it so much.
This was correct me if I'm wrong, because I did not go all the way through my last viewing to check out the post-credit scene again, but this was the one where we had the Adam Warlock tease,
We get
right? Like,
not one, not two. We get 5 post-credits. We do get the Adam Warlock tease.
and it just nothing was done with it until
There's
years
5?
later.
There's 5 post-credit scenes.
I watched
And
none of
Adam
them.
Warlock, and then they just like Adam Warlock is a random third one. And you're like, I'm sorry, did you just introduce one of the most powerful cosmic beings?
Yeah, and I thought it was like a build-up for Thanos, and then I was like, oh.
trust me. Oh, in the theater, that got a real nerd gasp out of me in 2017.
This film could have done very well with some kind of Thanos reference. They don't do anything.
Speaking of cast, of sequels that never got made from this movie, how about Sylvester Stallone's
The
Guardians of the
Ravagers.
Galaxy group of Michelle Yeoh, Michael Clark Duncan, Michael
Pretty
Rosenbaum,
sweet,
and
yeah.
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus was the big get there.
Yeah, I think it's funny because it flirts with the idea of like we could get deeper into this, but Marvel never really strays too far into space. Let's be fair.
Well, are those meant to be the original cast of Marvel Guardians, right? From the first
It's an
series
early
of
run,
books or
yeah.
whatever they did?
An early run from
Okay.
the comics.
Yeah. That it definitely, like, again, it was a very obscure team, so I wasn't aware of like Star-Lord was there from the very beginning or not. I had no clue, but after the movie and all the little bits of trivia that came out afterwards. I was like, okay, well now I'm a little bit more familiar with the characters. But they really could have taken any of those iterations of characters and just said, here you go.
I'd watch a movie of Sly's group at the end. I would happily watch 2 hours of that.
They could give them a Disney Plus special, like the way they did Werewolf by Night and all that.
Sly would be like, I'm not working with Disney, only Paramount Plus now.
Just do it as a spin-off of Tulsa King, and he'll do it.
Tulsa King. I can only do
my
Tulsa
wife
King.
died. She had the woman cancer.
She had the woman here. So, Adrian she wasn't all there.
By the way, that's a real line of dialogue from the film Rocky Balboa. She had the woman cancer.
You know, the woman cancer. It's got pink.
He could have said that about Peter's mother. Ego gave her the woman cancer.
Fly as Ego. That would have changed things up by a lot.
I wanted to see more of Stallone. And I just realized, Anton, this is technically the first Stallone film we've ever covered. I mean, it's not really a Stallone film. But
you guys haven't done a Rambo?
No.
Oh, man.
Wow.
We didn't do Cobra. We didn't do Over the Top. We didn't
I will do Cliffhanger. If you guys want to do Cliffhanger.
We are.
We are doing Cliffhanger.
If that hasn't been claimed,
you want
that? Sorry,
one?
Ivan, if you want to. I will do Cliffhanger. That's a great Michael Rooker. Speaking
of Cliffhanger. Michael Rooker's anger towards Stallone in that movie being so unwarranted. His dumb ass took his girlfriend mountain climbing who didn't know how to mountain climb.
Guys, I'm just saying, any Michael Rooker movie you want to do from the 90s, I am so in on. You want to do Days of Thunder? I am in.
My favorite Stallone 90s movie, Demolition Man.
Oh,
love it.
So good.
Now you're talking my language. I remember I had the variety of that in like 1994. I remember my parents getting that. I was like, what is this movie?
Oh, what a classic.
94, 93.
I'm still championing y'all to watch a Cynthia Rothrock movie from the 90s. I'll be on that.
It's true. You could add that to the Patreon payment.
Look, I'll lend you another $100 to watch the Cynthia Rothrock.
Ivan's gonna have to liquidate his 401k to keep funding these episodes.
He's like, you don't understand. It's worth it.
I gotta boost the content, guys.
All right. Well, anything to add before we give our ratings on this? It's a lot of prolonged silence. I'm going to assume
we're ready to jump in.
Normally, I offer this to our guests, but I want to go first here for the simple reason of I'm going to be the most negative. I think that's obvious at this point, and I'd like, for the sake of you fans of this film, who may or may not be the other three people on this episode, and all the fans who like this movie, I'll let the positivity follow me. We can get the negative thing out of the way. How's that sound?
Sure.
Okay. So this was really interesting to watch back to back with the first one. This very much reminds me of the transition from Batman Forever to Batman and Robin, where a lot of uninformed people who don't like Schumacher's contribution to the Batman series will lump those two films together, which is a mistake. I think it is a similar mistake to lump the first two Guardians films together, because there are many similarities, of course, but I think there are some differences. This film, Volume 2, takes everything I think the first one did well, the humor, the color, the needle drops, the emotional beats, and it dials it up to 11, just like what happened with Batman and Robin. Everything that worked in Batman Forever got dialed up way too far. Excess becomes the point and the problem with this. I think whereas the first one was charmingly off kilter, this is indulgent. This feels overemphasized. This feels overripe. This is like a Long Island iced tea. It's a little too much for me at this point in my life. I'm approaching 40. The film has plenty of heart. It is just too extreme in everything it does. I have to admit I am not a fan of Gunn's style, at least from what I can tell. The humor here is more forced. It's more juvenile. The CGI is demonstrably worse. There's a ton of it. The story is a straight-up side quest. As someone who was very invested in the Infinity Saga, that did not appeal to me. And last but not least, this is a misuse of a great actor that should have been a welcome addition to this film. I'm talking about Kurt Russell. Watching this film for the podcast, I realized something about myself when it comes to superhero movies. The more they get away from Earth, the less interested I am in them. This was not my cup of tea to begin with. It's the same reason why, Anton, when we had to watch Batman versus Superman, an episode with Ivan, check it out. That scene where Batman comes upon that like flying alien monkey thing, my eyes rolled so far into the back of my head, I wasn't sure they were going to come back. That happened a few times watching this as well. this was not my cup of tea to begin with, but I don't think this is well made or well executed. This is one of my all-time least favorite sequels that we've covered. It's one of my least favorite Marvel movies. Everything I liked about the first one, which I rate very highly, I'd probably give the first one like an A- or a B+. I really like the first Guardian. I dislike about this one. I think this movie absolutely stinks. I rate it a D.
All right, who's next?
I'll go. I echo a lot of what Pat has to say on the negative front, but I do feel like I have a few more positive feelings for this. This is a movie where there's a couple of moments that for me warrants a bit of a rewatch, although maybe more of a YouTube clips look up rewatch versus a watching the whole movie. I really like the Yondu and Peter Quill stuff in this film. I like the Nebula and Gamora sister developments. Those little character moments when the dialogue, when James Gunn gets his dialogue right, he gets it right. He knocks it out of the park. I think there's a lot of really good character moments in this movie. But yeah, like the humor is overdone quite a bit, and I feel like sometimes kind of ruins certain moments of the movie for me. I keep talking about it, but the soundtrack is really strong. I really like the choice of music here. But for all it's worth, I feel like for me this falls more of around the, like a C- or so for me. I don't feel like it's like in D territory for me, but it's not something that I'll replay and sit down and watch like throughout the whole thing. It's more so maybe play it back in the background for a bit and just tune in certain parts.
Yeah, I'm happy to go next. No, there's a lot about this film I really like. There's something that Pat said about how the further the Marvel films go from Earth, the more that he feels a bit checked out. And I get that statement. But at the same time, I feel like with James Gunn, this was like a really great example for me of the more zany, the more you dive into how peculiar these characters look, the costuming, everything, how alien the setting is. The challenge becomes, how do you ground those characters with the story, with the characterization, with the dialogue? And I felt like that really was what the strengths were in this film, was making me feel for a blue-skinned alien with a magic pen sword. I don't even know necessarily how to describe his weapon, but and his relationship with Star-Lord, or as well as just any of this team's relationship. And just, I felt like that emotional core is why I think of this film a bit more fondly. The humor, though, just undercuts so much of that. And I think like that's why this film's very uneven. The film setting not being in the Infinity War momentum, I'm fine with that. I think that it bothers me a lot less, because I think that it is such a huge universe that I do want to see more of it. And the challenge then becomes, how do you tell a strong story where you can connect with the core of the characters and how they're grounded in reality? Which again, it just unfortunately the film felt a bit uneven. But no, I think there's still a lot more that I would still want to revisit, just because of those really fun moments and because I really enjoy that aspect. I am a Gunn fan. I know that this is not his best work, but I do think that this is very accurate of what you could expect from that style of film. And I'm just happy that it has improved since this. But for me, this one sits actually in a very C. Like, I'm going to give it a C.
And I'll bring it home over here too. So I am a very big fan of James Gunn and his history. He started out in the trauma space. I grew up on trauma. It was something my dad introduced to me at a young age. Toxic Avenger was one of my formative movies as a kid. And you can really feel a lot of that trauma. I got to make this all because I don't know if I'm ever going to get the chance energy from James Gunn. And he's always positioned himself as kind of an outsider in Hollywood. I mean, he didn't really get his break with, even Slither was probably his first real big commercial movie. I mean, if you want to call writing Scooby-Doo that, sure. But even still, he was well into his 30s, if not 40 at the time too. So he had definitely been behind the scenes. And his whole idea is outsiders fitting in the norms of what's there. And one theme that really resonates with me a lot in Guardians is the idea of found family. It's, we might be born into these families and these are our circumstances, but that doesn't define who our families are. And I really think that theme is strongest in this movie, especially with Yondu's realization of, I've kind of been this father to Peter all along, and I've really never realized it. I've never shown it, and I need to help him realize it as well. And it helps Peter get over that kind of mental, like, child roadblock that he's always been fighting against for those first 34 years of Star-Lord's life. Is my mother's dead, who am I don't have a father. And he almost gives into that id, like I brought up before, of this is my father, this is who I need to be with, I need to be the person he wants to play catch with. And he recognizes at the end, like, no, these are my family, like, Yondu is my father, and like, I might not have chosen it, but these guys really are the best that I have. And at its core, like, that is such an admirable theme and idea to explore, and I think the movie largely succeeds. Unfortunately, like we've all talked about, it's undercut with so many silly jokes, just so many off-putting one-liners, and it really does kind of lose its meaning and emotional impact because that tone is so mixed. For me personally, recontextualizing the movie, the fact that it stands outside of the Infinity Saga, this movie technically only takes place 3 months after Guardians 1 in the universe, I think is great because you can watch this movie as a standalone movie. But I remember at the time, like, this all felt really inconsequential. And I'm wondering if I wouldn't have felt that way if I had more of that emotional connection to it at the time, not being kind of undercut with all of those jokes. So again, being a new father, maybe having kind of more of that retconning behavior in my own mind helped me view this movie in a different lens. But still, it's not something I find myself wanting to revisit. It's more of a movie I enjoy thinking about more than I enjoy watching. And that's fine and all, but that's not really what I want from something from the Guardians of the Galaxy or from someone who I admire as much as James Gunn. So even though I am probably more positive than all of you guys, I'm still giving this a C+, and we're talking more like a 78.1, just getting to that C+ range too.
Well, here we are.
Pretty positive.
Ivan, Garrett, love having you on.
Always.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks for having us, guys. We're looking forward to Cynthia Rothrock movies being covered here shortly.
Can you edit in Cat Stevens to like play us off? Like at the end of this episode, like, I know
I think
have
I get a
as-
copy
as-
of the strike.
As Baby Groot, maybe just like a parody version. Trying to think of like
Wait,
how
you guys
the
wouldn't get
lyrics could change.
Copyright striked if it's like somebody doing a cover of it.
Yeah,
Right?
if Ivan and I
Wow.
sing and harmonize it right now, can we edit it
Yeah,
in?
we could do it.
Yeah,
You totally could.
Or go the Weird Al route. Make it about food.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that idea. So it sounds like Garrett has talked himself into Cliffhanger. That is going to be a hoot. Have you seen Cliffhanger, Ivan?
I have not.
Oh,
it is one of the most. This movie was made by cocaine movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Caracco.
Well,
We were
now I'm
talking
looking forward
about
to watching
Caracco
it.
Yep,
before,
Caracco.
Garrett. That is a Caracco movie.
Oh yes,
I'll watch it this weekend.
Oh, it's a hoot. John Lithgow is the bad guy.
I'm trying to think where you can stream it. I wouldn't be shocked if it was on Tubi.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could get a DVD copy of it.
Yeah, that's
hey,
fair.
go to your local library and rent a DVD. Everybody
Yeah.
Do they offer DVDs at libraries still?
at NYPL they do. We got a sick Blu-ray section at my library too.
Do they have video games?
No, but my library at home did, and let me tell you, that was awesome when I first got a PS2.
Yep, same.
Wait, mine has a video game section.
What?
Yeah.
All
Here in
right, I'm
Queens.
telling my wife we're moving to Queens.
They don't do that in Manhattan.
Yeah, not in Manhattan. We only got Blu-rays here.
Which one you go to, Garrett? Is it the one by the fancy building on 34th Street? Or
Yeah, the fancy building called Tompkins
fancy
Square
big one.
Park. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
go to the
fancy thing.
Tompkins Library. You know, the fancy park, Tompkins Square Park, where gentrification riots happened no less than 36 years ago.
Love the history lesson. You guys want to sing Cat Stevens or what?
Oh, okay. Wait, let me pull up lyrics.
Garrett's like, oh, you were serious. Oh, shit.
Find a girl, settle down.
if
you
I start
want,
singing, your subscriber
you
count's
can
going down.
marry. Look at me. I am old, but I am happy. Why am
It's actually pretty good.
Let's see this.
That was great. That was really good. That was really
I
good.
know. I have to go.
Doo-doo, doo-doo.
I think we can call it right there. Thanks for listening and see you next time on Why Wasn't It Better?